You're probably here because you're finding it a little bit difficult in finding your way about leadership, finding your way on how to manage people well, and finding your way on how to grow your business as an entrepreneur. Any one of these things are the topics that we cover. I'm your host, Sean C., aka Mr. CEO at 22. I am so glad that you took the first step of being here to learn more about leadership, entrepreneurship, and management because the world needs more people like you. We will help you to invest in yourself because that's something that is worth doing. That is something that is worth learning. If you have questions about entrepreneurship, maybe you're having problems at work or you're having some leadership problems or managing other people, boy, I have news for you. We have what we call a masterclass. Most of the courses in the masterclass deal with how you can generate revenue online. It deals with leadership, how to lead in crisis, how to break through the crisis in business, in entrepreneurship, and how you can manage other people better. Now, I always say the best kind of investment is an investment in yourself. And how much money are we charging for this masterclass? Not a lot. And if you invest in one, it's yours to keep. And if it doesn't, I'll refund you, no questions asked, full refund. So why don't you try it out? Head on over to sean.c/masterclass and check out any one of the courses if it fits any one of the questions in your head. And if you have any questions, you can just put it on the comment section and we'll get in touch with you. We want to know who you are and we want to hear from you. Until then, keep leading.
All right. Hello. Good evening, everyone. I know that I have been missing for the past couple of weeks. Actually, I think it's been 3 weeks since I last did a Leadership Stack live here. And sorry about that. Our dog is acting up. We just shaved him today, and he's pretty bald. And yeah, he's right outside the door barking. But yeah, so thanks for everyone who's tuned in right now. Really appreciate you guys from Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch. And just want to let you know, I started a little bit early today because I'm excited to be back again and to hear from you all again. And it's really something that I missed. I missed doing this Leadership Stack live. Hold on, I think I need to go ahead and check on our dog. What's happening there? Why it's so noisy? Give me a sec. Okay. All right. Helper helped out with that. All set. Okay. We have a lot of questions last September too, and that's what we are going to address this week. And we want to announce our new Facebook group. There's the link down there, leadme.ph/Facebook. That's going to take you to our Facebook group. Just hit the join button, and the Leadership Stack social media team will help you out with getting your questions sorted and posting it here so that I can address them. If it is about leadership, management, entrepreneurship, we will get to answering them tonight. There are a couple of new episodes that we have on the Leadership Stack podcast. And if you haven't tuned in for a while, here they are. We have episode 262. Could you believe it? We started 2019 of July, episode 1. And now it's 262 episodes later already. This is a 14-minute episode, How Mentors and Values Can Change Your Lives. That's me and Tony Aquino. We did the AMA with her. Hopefully, we're going to have her back in a couple of weeks or months here on the show. And we also have Lou Hines, Why Purpose and Passion Must Work Together. This one is a very interesting episode. And for those of you who are feeling a little bit tired, a little bit dragged on with your work, this might be a very good episode for you to tune into. We have choosing goals before investments matter. So this is an investment podcast recording with Tony Aquino, also in our AMA, and a couple more episodes that you might have missed. You might want to check these out. And if you haven't, please do hit the follow button. That would help us out a lot. We also have all of these on YouTube, and the link is leadme.ph/YouTube, or just search for Leadership Stack on YouTube, and you will be able to find our Leadership Stack channel on YouTube. We are targeting 1,000 followers. And guess what? We are at 954, I think, right now. And it's a little bit painful for us to see that we're not really hitting that off. Just 50 people. We lack 50 people, guys. Please do help us. If you know friends, family who could help boost that up to 1,000, that would help the Leadership Stack team a lot. Okay, it's 8 p.m. Why don't I go ahead and start highlighting some of the questions? Oh, we have Lane Laguisma from LinkedIn. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. How are you? Hope you're doing well during these trying times. We have a question from V. How do you handle a growing body of employees? How do you ensure that they will still be working with the same level of teamwork as before? Well, when I started out, it was very chaotic because I didn't have processes, no structure. I didn't have no HR team. I didn't have tenured team leaders who will help me out to manage the people in the team. And I would always be out. I would always be out trying to close deals, trying to bring in more revenue. So I'm not in the office. And the dangerous thing is, when I'm not in the office, the culture becomes different. The culture morphs to something that is not a desirable culture for a good team to have. And I experienced a couple of mutinies, rebellion, and generations of team that I had to weed out. They either resigned or I had to fire some of them. And whole generations of teams have to just go out the door. And I wrote the entire ordeal in my book, 50x Your Business. It's out in Amazon right now. I don't have the hard copy yet. If you know someone who can help me print the hard copy, please refer them to me. I'm looking for a really good printer for this one. So 50x Your Business. Get the book from Amazon, download that. Everything I did to manage those painful generations of employees, I wrote it in that book, and how I changed it as well. So I guess if your number of employees are growing, what you need to do is really put systems and processes in place. And these systems and processes will follow your core values and principles. For example, in SEO Hacker, unity is something that we really value. We don't want a team with a lot of dissonance or division within, because a house divided against itself will surely fall and crumble. And so what we did is we made sure that gossip is something that is a very grave offense when you are in our team. We also made sure that unresolved conflict has to be handled in a healthy way. We made sure that sanction incompetence is something that we actually have to call out and not tolerate. We made sure that casting the vision is something that we do regularly, so that we're all united, moving in one direction together. Now, these may sound like, oh, those are really good things, and I think we do that in our team. And a lot of companies do think that way, but they actually don't, and they don't have systems and processes in place to protect their team from these things and to make sure that we are moving in that one direction together as a company. So these things are left out, and that's usually why a lot of companies do have problems with their teams as they grow. If you start a business, the goal is to grow it. That is the goal. You don't want to shrink your business. The goal is to grow and to grow and to grow, because if you don't keep growing, your competitors are going to catch up and they're going to eat you. They're going to want your piece of the pie. So there is no real way to go but to grow your business. That's growing your people, your employees, your process, and improving them. And it's really about how you direct the culture. The culture directs the processes. And when you have the processes in place, that's how your team will grow in a still solid foundational way with who you are as the founder. How do you ensure that they'll still be working with the same level of teamwork as before? You can't. All you have to do is really work on making sure that people are still working unitedly as a team. That is what you can do. You're not sure, no one's sure that people are still going to work as a team before. Hey, we all have our challenges. And a lot of them are unseen when they come. Some people would have challenges with family. Some people would suddenly lose loved ones. It is hard to expect your team to work the same level as before when these things happen. And these things do happen. So all you can really do is make sure that your core values and processes are in place to give you a check and balance so that your team will be able to police themselves or reflect on themselves if they are still working at par to what you expect from them. Nirmaljit says hi from LinkedIn. Hey, how are you doing there? Thanks for tuning in. Next question. How do you manage a culturally diverse team? Well, SEO Hacker is pretty diverse. We have all sorts of people in the team, and we have all sorts of perspectives in the team. When you say culture, a lot of people think it's about ethnicity. We also have different ethnicities in the team, but majority, of course, is Filipino. So I would say when you say culturally, I'll take it as like different family backgrounds, perspectives in life, faith, in identity. That's how I would answer this question. And the answer to that is to respect everyone's perspective, identity, but also share what you really think about life. Because if you just respect them and don't share about your own perspective in the hopes of making things better, then I think your team will work in a shallow way or would have a shallow relationship. I think what really makes a relationship go deep are good, healthy conflicts and shared experiences. So that is something that I would say you need not really to manage, but to make sure that the team would work very well together. Because if the team works very well together, it's very easy to manage that team. Next question: as a Christian leader and CEO, to what extent do your beliefs apply to your work and your company? Our entire core values actually stem from my faith: grit, respect for work, unity, challenger, clarity, and experimentation. And we have two permission to play values, which is integrity and hard work beyond technology. So all of those things actually stem from my being a Christian, and my Lord and Savior being Jesus Christ. I would actually speak on this topic tomorrow in the Friends Phil Chai community. It's free to sign up if you want to sign up for my talk tomorrow. I customized a PowerPoint for that. I'll be speaking for 30 to 40 minutes, and we have a 30-minute Q&A. If you're interested to join, let me know. I'll send you the link. Join the Facebook group, leadme.ph/Facebook, and we'll post the link there. I'll be speaking about how not to lose your values in business, in this gray area world of business. So how I was able to do it, to still be a Christian, pay our taxes right, make sure when I say something, I keep it with integrity to our people, to our clients. That is something that I will be able to discuss tomorrow. How will I know it's time to hire more people? It's time when you're expecting more clients coming in. It's time when it's too late, when the entire team is already suffering from the heavy workload. And when I say suffering, what that means is people are going overtime every day and getting burnt out because they're doing a lot of work and doing a lot of overtime, and they're not getting paid for it, and they're working on Saturdays also. That's too late. That is too late for you to just check your business and say, hey, maybe I need to hire more people. So you hire more people when you're expecting clients coming in. Now, I know it's difficult right now because it's the pandemic and you just don't know when clients are coming in or not. With SEO Hacker, that's exactly what happened. Last year was quite slow. We didn't have much new clients, and we were expecting this year to be pretty much the same. But May, June, July, we got a sudden influx of clients, and it's unprecedented. So that was huge, huge wins for us. But also, the team felt the load, especially because we were still operating as a skeletal team during that time, which we shouldn't be. We should have operationalized in a way that is like the normal operating hours of SEO Hacker, and we announced that a little bit too late. So, if you expect that you're going to get more clients coming in, then you should start hiring already, especially if your hiring process is quite long, like SEO Hackers. Our hiring process is somewhere 1 to 3 months before we close a position, depending on the position. So it's quite significant. It's quite a significant amount of time when we hire, and that's going to, yeah, you're gonna need to open hire way before. As a leader and a business owner, how do you know an employee has a bad attitude versus when their chemistry with the team is off? I think an employee has a bad attitude. I think it's pretty obvious when an employee has a bad attitude. Like everyone would smell it. It's just like body odor. You know, if you have bad body odor, everyone smells it and they know you have it for a fact, right? But you don't know it because you're the one with the bad body odor. So I think an employee with a bad attitude is much like that. People just know, everyone knows that this employee has a bad attitude. Versus when their chemistry with the team is off. When their chemistry with the team is off, it's usually not everyone. They usually have someone in the team that they have good chemistry with. Maybe it's 50-50. I don't know. But usually when it's 50-50, it goes up to me and I get to know who that person is already. So 50-50 is not a good sign already if you have that kind of good and bad chemistry partitioned off with the rest of the team. So I would say when their chemistry with the team is off, usually that's like 70% good, and just with the 30% they don't have really good chemistry with the 30%, which is not that bad. But then there are people who really have problems working under authority. And for me, people who have problems working under authority, who would rebel, who would gossip, who would slander, those are the kinds of people who may not have a bad attitude with their peers, but they definitely have a bad attitude against leadership and management. And when that is the case, my opinion is they gotta go. You gotta let them go. Either they resign or you fire them. That if they resign, all the better. That's perfect. But if they don't, then you gotta fire them, because they are going to ruin your business by showing a rebellious attitude. That this is why in our job description in SEO Hacker, one of our requirements, actually, we put it on paper, is you have to be able to work under authority. You have to be able to work under authority. Everyone is under authority. I'm under the authority of God and the government. Whether I like it or not, we are under authority, and we have to be able to work under authority. Next question. I want to start a business, but I have a lot of interests. How do I know which one I'm supposed to pick? Pick the one where you are really good at, you're way above average, and where if you didn't get paid, you'd still do it. That for me would be the business that I would go for. Another good indicator is when a lot of people are actually willing to pay you for that. That's another good indicator. So when I started SEO Hacker, I was just a blogger, and I wrote in a blog called God and You, and it's a Christian blog. And I actually didn't get paid anything for that. I just prayed to God. I said, I want to give you my last 1,300 pesos. I bought the blog, started writing, didn't get paid. And then the Lord led me to a series of divine interventions. And I learned about SEO because no one was reading my stuff. And I wanted more subscribers, I wanted more readers. And so I kept on writing, I kept on reading about SEO, researching, did my experiments, and I blogged everything in an online journal called SEO Hacker. So I didn't make any money out of that, but I kept on going, going, going. And I was passionate about it. And that's what led into the business that I have now, which is SEO Hacker. And we're now a 50-man team. I think we just went past 50 already in terms of headcount. So that's really good considering it's the pandemic and we were expecting to shrink a little bit, but we're still growing. That's, all by God's grace. And I would say go with the one where you're really good at it and you love it. Even if you don't get paid, you'll do it. And the best validator is when people are willing to pay you to do it, then that's going to be a really good business. Next question. How will I know the appropriate salaries, what the appropriate salaries are for my employees? First of all, you have to have a budget. You have to have a budget based on the job description and based on your business revenue. So if your revenue is not big, then you can't really pay a high pay grade person. But if you're making good revenue, you have a good net profit, an ample buffer, then you can pay someone really well and you can hire a higher grade person. And when I say higher grade, it means they have a lot more experience in the field where you want to hire them for. So in SEO Hacker, we usually pay somewhere in the minimum wage range for grassroots people. These are people who are fresh grads who just want to come in, learn stuff. They want to explore if they want to stay with us for the long term. And then when we regularize them, they want to get regularized. We have a bond and we increase their salary. It doesn't go up, way up in a skyrocket way. It's a good measure. It is market grade, but not compared to, of course, the international market. That's a whole different story, especially with our market not really going up there right now. So it would really depend on how much you're making on your net profit buffer. Are you making a lot of money? You can hire people with a higher pay grade and a higher skill set. But if not, then maybe do it the way I did it when I was starting out. I would hire minimum wage and I would train them myself. And these are fresh grads who just wanted more experience. And that has helped me to hone our process documents, how we do things, our processes, how I teach people, our training materials. And I think that might be a better way to do it. But you could also hire a higher pay grade person, and then he or she already has processes in mind or in place, and they could just import that to your business. That would also be really good. But it would really depend on your budget. You have to have a budget per position. If you don't have a budget per position, then don't hire yet. You have to figure it out. Okay. Next question. Do I need to have a budget for employee benefits such as healthcare insurance right off the bat before I start my business? No. That is something that is considered as a bonus, which is not a must. It is not critical. It is not required of you as a business owner. It is your prerogative if you want to give that or not. There are only a couple of required benefits for your employees, which is SSS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth. And we all know what's happening with PhilHealth right now. So these are government required benefits. If you ask me, they're not much of a benefit in reality, but it's required by the government. So we have to comply. And you have to give people, I think that's 5 leaves, if I'm not mistaken, for emergencies, and that's it. So that's all you are required to give in terms of benefits. No more than that. You are required to give the 13th month pay. That's government mandated. If you want to give 14th or 15th month or performance bonuses, that's really up to you as a business owner. My suggestion is, if you're going to give those things, do not put the bonus on paper, for example, because it's a bonus. If it's on paper, it's no longer a bonus. It is a mandate. So don't try to chop your own head off by putting these benefits on paper for your people. That is going to be a dangerous game, especially if you're not really making a lot of money and then you just want to give to employees. I have to give you a warning. A lot of employees, they don't have your best interests at heart as a business owner. A lot of them would put their own interests at heart first. So the moment you cannot give those benefits, they can actually complain against you to the government and they can sue you for that. All I'm saying is it's better to be safe than sorry, because your business is going to go down if you lose a battle with an employee or two. And that's going to be very tough for your morale, going to be very tough for your finances, going to be very tough for you because you need to represent yourself in court, or you need to hire a lawyer who will represent yourself in court. You're not even sure if you're going to win the case or not. You're not even sure if you're going to have to pay penalties for that or not, and so on and so forth. So this is something that I would suggest a lot of business owners to just avoid. Just don't give benefits that you cannot afford. Always think very hard before you give that benefit, because once you give it, a lot of employees would think of it as something mandatory. If you've ever heard the phrase, you gave your hand and they wanted your arm, if you've ever heard that phrase, that means you're familiar with that truth. And there are people who are like that. Not everyone is like that, but there are people who are like that. And if like me, you have a team of 50 and you have one or two people who are like that, they're still going to be able to sue you. And that's the problem right there. So don't give benefits that you will regret someday, that will bite you back in the ass someday. How will I know if my company culture is healthy? The easiest way, if people open up to you, if they give you feedback about what they think about you, the management, the leadership, other people in the team, the HR, if they're open in giving you feedback and they're giving you honest feedback that you work on, that is a very good sign that your culture is healthy. Because when people just shut up and just kiss ass, tell you things that you want to hear, that's not a good company culture. There's some toxicity, politics, and bureaucracy boiling somewhere within if that is what's happening. So with SEO Hacker, we always listen to our people. We have what we call the fast feedback loop in SEO Hacker. And we use Teamster, which is a software that my team developed internally. We use that in-house. And people actually give their feedback every payday. And we read the feedback and we act on it. See, people will get tired of giving you feedback if you actually do nothing about it. Because they're going to think that, what's the use? Why do I keep writing this feedback and filling up the feedback form if management is not listening anyway? And that's when gossip starts. That's when a lot of the things that are unhealthy begins, when management does not listen or does not act upon what people are saying. Another way for you to see if a company culture is healthy is if people are generally happy and engaged with their work. And one easy way to do this is through an NPS, or a Net Promoter Score. We sent our Net Promoter Score just last quarter, asking people, how well would you share SEO Hacker as a workplace to a friend or colleague, for them to work in as well? So that's a score of 1 to 10, 1 to 10. And we had an NPS score of 60 plus, which is already very, very good. I'd argue it's world class, because today an NPS score of 60 plus for a company is very extremely rare, actually. So we got the score of 67. I think that's very, very high. I'm very happy about that. So you could also use an NPS to check if your company culture is healthy, if people are happy and engaged with what they're doing, especially those who have been with you for more than a year and a half or more than 2 years, those are the best people to ask. Because then you'll know if they still feel like your company has a good future and if you're building a good culture around them or around the entire team. We have a question from Pam. Can you give some tips on how to make a team effective? An effective team is a team that is able to work together and accomplish goals, and those goals accumulate to the vision or mission of the company. That is an effective team. If the leader or the leaders are able to do that, because really a team has to have leaders who will guide them to the vision. When you wake up, you do work, sometimes you forget, where am I really going with this? Where am I really going with life? We forget that. You and I forget that. And people at work forget that. This is why, to answer this question, the leaders are critical. If you want to make a team effective, hitting those goals in the right time frames towards the vision or the mission, you need to have really good leaders in the team. That is the key. Now, how do you train those leaders? They have to keep on growing themselves. I had a webinar just last August, Grow and Balance Your Life. A lot of leaders attended there. And I spoke about personal growth. It's not automatic. You have to be intentional about it. You have to read books, listen to podcasts, watch videos about growth, about leadership. If you're tuned in here, this is part of your personal growth. Leaders are growers. Leaders are learners. They learn themselves so that they can teach others also. If you're not learning, you're not leading. And growing leaders is a whole slew of episodes that we have been working on in Leadership Stack. We have 256 episodes already, a lot of them about leadership. If you are having problems with making your team effective, pick some of the leaders in your team, ask them to listen to the episodes, grow them as a leader, and they will be more effective and will make the team a lot more effective as well. This is why leadership is so critical in a company. What strategies do you use to motivate your team, especially this time of pandemic? We have our town hall meeting. It's called the structured meeting. And in that town hall meeting, we have the claps session where we applaud people who have shown our core values in practice. They have closed deals, they have won accounts, they have been diplomatic with clients and won back the relationship. They have finished things within the deadline or ahead of the deadline. They finished things well. They gotten compliments from our clients. We applaud these people. We make sure that they're recognized by everyone, not just by me. And that is one big way to motivate them. Other ways would be employee engagement programs. My HR does a fantastic job of this. They have their Biggest Loser recently. Of course, I funded it and I paid for the winners, but they actually made the program, they made the idea, and they actually saw it through to the end, which is fantastic. We also have our webinars and workshops for the team, which we go to. We have the next one this coming Saturday, actually, and that is about Strengths Finder, Gallup's Strengths Finder. It's a workshop by Marian Mencias, and we're very excited to do that online for the first time, because the last time we did that in workplace, in our co-working space right beside our office. So there are so many ways to motivate your team, but the best way to motivate them is pay them on time, pay them right, and make sure that you have enough to pay them with. Make sure you're getting good revenue to support their lifestyle. I think during this time of the pandemic, that's the best way to motivate your people. Pay them on time, pay them right, and make sure hindi tayo lahat nagtataka, mababayaran pa ba ako next month? May trabaho pa ba ako next month? Make sure your revenue stream is doing good. What is the most difficult part of being a leader? When you're misunderstood. That's the most difficult part, at least for me. I sacrifice a lot. You work the hardest. You make sure they're taken care of. They're paid well. They're paid on time. You even give them bonuses if you have extra. And then you're misunderstood. You're misunderstood that you don't want the best for them. You're misunderstood that you are a tyrant or a dictator, when actually in the end it's your neck on the line. You have most to lose. A lot of leaders, especially founders, are misunderstood. I think that's the most difficult part. But hey, if it was easy, then everyone would be doing it, right? So I guess it's that difficulty as well that helps leaders be really, be better leaders. As a leader, how can you achieve goals with your team in a fast paced environment? Achieving goals with the team is all about driving the vision. You keep on casting the vision, you keep on driving the team to go there. Even if it's fast paced, slow paced, it doesn't matter. If your team doesn't follow, even if it's slow paced or fast paced, it doesn't matter. You're not going to achieve goals. You're not going to achieve anything. You have to make sure that your team is following you. And people follow you when you have influence over them, when you have good relationships with them, when they are going to learn something from you, when you are teaching them the right things, when you are keeping your promises, you're keeping your word with what you say you're going to do for them. There's a lot of ways to answer this question, but in the end, it's all about integrity. If you have integrity as a leader, people will follow you, whether it's fast paced, slow paced, and you can actually lead them to achieve those goals and go to the vision together. Next question: what are the things to consider before starting a business? Are people going to buy your stuff? Like, that's the first question I'm going to be asking anyone who wants to start a business. Do you have a customer? Remember, the most important thing is in business is not how flashy your marketing plan is. It's not how great you are in terms of doing the service. It's if you have a customer. If you don't have a paying customer, you don't have a business. Even if you had the operations all built out and it's good to go, if you had your factory all ponied up and it's ready to roll, but you don't have a customer, it's not a business. You don't have a business. So how you get to realize if you have a customer or if you're going to have a customer or not is first ask around friends and family. Hey, will you buy this? Hey, will you buy this at this price? Hey, will you buy this at that price? Will you buy this if it had these features? Will you buy this at a higher price if I add this, and that? Ask around. It's free to ask. It's free to survey people. You will have a better idea if your product or your service will fly off and become a good business or not. Because starting a business with a bad service or product idea is bad enough. Because building it is already hard enough. So you would want to start it with a very good product or service. Is partnership good for small businesses? It depends. If the partnership is strategic, meaning you have skills that are critical for the business to start and grow, and your partner also have skills that are critical for the business to start and grow, then partnership makes sense. But I would always argue that the partnership always has to have someone calling the final shots. There has to be someone who is 51%. I do not agree with a partnership or a corporation where everyone is equal and the votes are all equal. That's going to be a horrible disaster in the end, because indecision is one of the major sinkers of businesses. Indecision is one of the major sinkers of teams. So you would want to make sure that your decision is going to be easy to be made, because you have the decision maker who's 51% on paper in a partnership. That is one of my rules in going to a partnership. From Peter: what if one of your regular customers... Dami natin tanong, no, guys? Medyo napapaos na ako. Pero very good question so far. What if one of your regular customers or suki befriended you and asked about your startup business, about where and how you manufacture your products, then turns out they started their own business that's directly competing against yours, what would you do? Well, learn your lesson. Ideas are cheap. I would always say ideas are cheap. If you had a good idea, you share it with someone, they go ahead and execute on that idea. It's cheap what you gave them. They executed on it. They actually put in the work. Yes, it was your idea, but it really doesn't take a lot of work to have a good idea. It may take inspiration, but not a lot of work. Ideas are cheap. So, if this happens to you, one of your regular customers befriended you, ask you about your startup business, I suggest do not give everything away because, hey, why do you need to tell everything to that suke? Why do you need to tell everything to that customer who befriended you? Make sure you protect your business. Do not give out where you source stuff, where you get suppliers from, how you think about your pricing, how much your profit margin is, unless that person is a pastor or a priest, someone with very high integrity, and even then you're not sure, then I suggest don't tell them everything. Be wise. Are there any legal procedures you can do about it? Well, if they didn't sign an NDA, there's nothing you can do about it. So maybe next time before you share some secret stuff, ask them to sign an NDA, right? So, that's the only way I could think about it. Otherwise, be wise and just keep stuff to yourself. You don't need to share it. They're not going to force you to do that either. That customer turned competitor now is also imitating how you present and market your business online. Even the presentation, the packaging of the main product itself is direct copy. What would you do if you are in this position? Something happened recently that is very similar to Carlo Ople. He's a good friend of mine, and he has this merchandise line that he branded Project 721, which is fantastic, by the way. You should check that out. Project 721 by Carlo Ople. He had competitors copying his stuff, literally copying the design, color of the shirt, but the quality is super cheap. That's why the selling price is super duper cheap. So he actually vlogged about it. And Carlo, having so many subscribers in YouTube, a lot of people saw that vlog. And he literally ripped one of the t-shirts in that video to show people how cheaply it's made. So it was, he let out some emotions there for sure, but that is how he handled it. If you're not, and we're not Carlo Ople, you and I are not Carlo Ople, we don't have so much subscribers on YouTube, we can't really do it that way. So, an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. I would say at the get-go, don't share so much stuff to other people. But if it has boiled into this, it has festered into your suke being a direct competitor and copying you exactly. The good thing about it is, if you are innovative as a founder, as an entrepreneur, you innovated that. You experimented and came up with that. You created it. If you can have that as your creation and your competitor is just copying you, your competitor cannot copy everything that you're going to be inventing. And now that you know that that person is a copycat, you're going to stop talking to that person anyway. So just keep innovating. Anyway, if it wasn't that competitor, if it wasn't that suke, it's going to be some other person copying your stuff, right? I mean, in this day and age, it's not really hard for other people to copy other people, especially in business. And I'm sure a lot of you guys watching now can relate. You can relate. It's not really hard. So this is the day and age to be innovative. Maybe not about your product itself, but about your team, about your culture, about your processes. I think what makes SEO Hacker great is we are a company that has really, really good team culture. All of our competitors, I cannot say the same for them. That is what makes SEO Hacker who we are. And that is one of my biggest edge over my competition. It's not the product. It's not how cheap we are. In fact, SEO Hacker is the most expensive SEO company in the Philippines as far as I know. But the value we give, how we work, how we take care of our clients, it is miles away from our competition. From Lara, how can you help your team build resilience? Allow them to make mistakes and don't whip them for it. That's the answer. Don't whip them whenever they make mistakes. Allow them to make mistakes. Now, there are two kinds of mistakes that I don't agree with. The first kind is repeated mistakes. Repeated mistakes means that the person didn't learn the lesson. I paid the tuition fee. I paid for the mistake. They didn't evaluate themselves. They didn't evaluate what went wrong. They didn't think about how they're going to do it better next time. I don't like those mistakes. That kind of mistakes, I don't allow. Second mistake I don't allow is fatal mistakes. Fatal mistakes, these are mistakes that are obvious and would cost us a client, that would cost us revenue, that would cost us business, or that would cost us a legal case, which is very bothersome. Those are fatal mistakes, and I don't like those mistakes. Other than those two mistakes, we allow mistakes in SEO Hacker. Make all the mistakes you want. I'll pay for your tuition fee. No problem. Just don't repeat them and make sure they're not fatal. That's how you build resilience with your team. How do you build trust with your team? Keep your word. As the leader, keep your word. Sounds so simple, but it's quite true. When you keep your word, people trust you. Don't just keep your word to your clients, keep your word to your people. When you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it. Make sure you pull through. Respect them. When you respect them, they respect you back. Also, trust your people. When you keep micromanaging them, they don't trust you either. Trust them to pull off the work you need them to do and get out of their way. How do you foster unity and teamwork in the workplace? We made it very clear that there are 5 enemies of unity that we hate, and these are to be kept out of the gate. And I mentioned some of them earlier, such as gossip, sanction incompetence, unresolved conflict. I wrote about it in my book 50x Your Business. You can download that from Amazon. The 5 enemies of unity. And when you kick those enemies of unity out of the place, you'll find it's very easy to have unity with your team. It's very easy to have a united team. Make sure you guard against those enemies of unity, especially gossip. The favorite pastime of Filipinos, they say, is gossip, chismis. And it does no one any good, especially when you're in business. When you have a team, a company, it breaks teams down. It's one of the most evil spirits that Satan ever let loose in our world today. And no one likes a gossiper. No one likes a gossiper. Even gossipers don't like gossipers. So why would you keep some in your team? Make sure they're not there. And if they're there, make sure you get rid of them. And that's how you foster unity in the team. You guard against these things that would break your unity down. How you foster teamwork in the workplace? Keep delivering results and also expect good results from your people. When you have that, then teamwork rolls on. What do you think are the reasons that stop someone from delegating? Well, when they don't trust the person they're going to be delegating to. When that person has proven themselves incompetent, or they've proven themselves that they are not trustworthy because they fail or they forget things, then people think twice from delegating to them. Actually, I personally would not delegate to people who are not trustworthy, who would say that they would do it and then they don't pull through. Because at the end of the day, it's going to bite me back in the ass when the client asks for the output and I don't have it because the person I delegated to didn't do it. So I would keep from delegating to those people. And I think that's the best reason why people don't delegate to other people. It's because napaso sila. Napaso sila ng mga taong ganun na walang isang salita. They experience that and they get burned and don't want to do it again. Hey Mitch, thanks for the greeting. Yes, I am back and we have a lot of questions tonight. Noren, good evening. Watching from Malita, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate you being here. Patrick Miguel, thank you. Congrats on the new baby. Yes, thank you so much. It's my first baby girl, and she is a bundle of joy. I'm very happy to be a dad again because my youngest son is already 5 years old. So this baby girl is really a baby girl. What scale of... Oh, from Janor, we have a question. I'm going to get to that later. Okay. How can someone overcome their fear of delegation? Number one, make sure you hire the right people. Number two, make sure when you delegate, you show them the ropes first. A lot of people, kasi when they delegate, they would just give them the keys to the new Ferrari. O yan, gawin mo. Ikaw na bahala. That's not how you delegate. When you delegate, you show them first how to drive the car, how to park the car, how to do parallel parking. Show them the ropes. Before you delegate to them, show them how it's done. And after that, watch how they do it. Observe. How are they going to do parallel parking? How are they going to park the car? How are they going to drive in the highway? You give them the keys to a brand new Ferrari, they would wreck it if you don't teach them. So when you delegate, teach them first, then observe, and then when you're happy with what they're doing, then you let it go. A lot of people delegate wrong and they think it's the person's fault, but it's really our fault when we delegate wrong, when we say, oh yan, bahala ka na, gawin mo na lang, drive mo na yan, just do it. That's not how you delegate. So hire the right person, delegate correctly, and I think when you do that, you overcome your fear of delegation. All right, question. What is the best way to manage stakeholders? Managing stakeholders or managing clients or people who are, who have a stake in the project is all about expectations, managing expectations. You don't actually need to manage the stakeholders. You need to manage their expectations. Tell them the timeline, tell them about the team working on it, tell them how difficult the work is, how long it's going to take, what is the best case scenario, what's the worst case scenario. When you're able to paint a good picture for your stakeholders about these things, then they become a lot more reasonable towards you. And they become a lot better stakeholders, a lot easier for you to deal with. It's about managing expectations. Wow, we got a lot of questions tonight. Okay. How do you improve engagement in a team where there is always a new hire in your team? Actually, having a lot of new hires could be fun because assimilating new hires, assuming that you hired right people, you have a very good hiring process, you only hire the right people who will have good chemistry in your team, who are a good fit in your team. It's actually quite fun when you have new hires, when you hire that way. In SEO Hacker, we have as I mentioned, a long hiring process, and we make sure that the people we hire are really good fit in the team. And when we hire new people, we welcome them, we celebrate, we make sure that someone is hand-holding them through the first few weeks of onboarding. That's part of onboarding, and people are engaged. The new hires go through the onboarding. They have a buddy in the team, in the company, who will help them, explain things to them, why we do things this way, what we believe in, what's the origin of this practice or process. So these are things that are important in employee engagement, especially with new hires. That's how we do it in SEO Hacker. How do you influence your colleagues and people in higher position than you? It is tough to influence people through position. But position, thank God, position is not everything. There's also personality. There's also relationship. So if you have a pleasing personality and you are able to build a good relationship with them, even if they are in a higher position than you, then you can always influence them in how you think, in how you perceive the world, in how you perceive your work, your management, your leadership, and in influencing them to do better and to be better as a person. So, how do you improve your personality? You grow. You read a lot of books, listen to podcasts. Those are the ways I did it because I used to be a very shy introvert and I didn't have a really good personality before. I would say things that would turn people off and I would say things in a very straight manner. And so I had to go through a lot of training, retraining, changing the perspective of my mind through books, through mentors, and that has helped me a lot. So I think if I'm going to answer this question is improve on your personality and make sure that you build a relationship with them. Question from Jabez, how do you handle procrastinating team members? Call them out. Call them out. Tell them, hey, why is this not yet done? I thought this was the deadline. Or hey, what are you doing today? Oh, you have a lot of time, then can you do this? Add some work on their plate. Right. So in my case, there are some people in the team that sometimes would not have a lot of work and they tend to procrastinate because they don't have a lot of work and they were able to negotiate for a very fat deadline, a fat buffer deadline, which I didn't really notice until I checked in. And what I do is I put more work on their plate because we are paying for them whether they do work or not. They're full-time employees. So if they're used to procrastinating, throw more stuff in their plate. That's going to keep them from procrastinating. If they still procrastinate and things go out of the deadline, serve them with a memo. When I say memo, it's a notice to explain so that when they do that again, you can send them a memo of gross habitual neglect. And the third time, you can actually fire them. So, yeah, procrastination is one of the biggest enemies of success. And if you have a procrastinator in your team, that's going to bog your entire company down. Better to just kick them off the train rather than they hold you down. That's my opinion. How do you motivate your team members? I answered this question earlier. Right now, it's a pandemic. We applaud people who do extraordinarily well, and if they uphold our core values, we make sure to notice them, to applaud them in our town hall meetings, and name them. And then we also make sure that people get paid on time, they get paid right, and they're not worried about our revenues because we keep on closing new deals, all by God's grace, of course. But that is a very good motivator, especially in this day and age. How do you time box your goals? I'm not sure about what time box means. Maybe deadlines. How do I put deadlines on my goals? I have a short-term and long-term perspective when it comes to goals. So, for example, I have a certain age where I would want to retire, where I do want to build my house in the province where I purchased a lot in. So there are those are long-term goals. My short-term goals, I do have short-term goals as well, and I just set deadlines on when I think I can achieve them. It's not that hard for me. One of my core strengths is I'm a person who is futuristic, but I guess for some people it might be difficult to actually put a hard deadline on their goals that makes sense. So what I would say is if you have a difficult time putting deadlines on your goals, to still just do it. And if you go past that, then it's okay because the assumption is you've made some progress anyway, supposedly, if you don't procrastinate. Again, procrastination is the biggest enemy of success. So if you have a goal and you have a deadline, do not procrastinate. Do what you can every day to be able to move forward and closer to that goal being achieved. What's your company workflow process that can make your team stay productive? It's all about project management. So in SEO Hacker, we are an SEO and digital marketing company. And we have project managers who make sure that our team is always working on projects. Me as the CEO, I watch the business development and the marketing. So what I watch is, do we have new leads coming in? Are they being worked on? Are they being closed? And are they being served to our account managers? So it is a matter also of whether you're overmanned or not. If you're overmanned, then it's hard to make everyone stay productive. So make sure your manpower is in a good range. I wouldn't say just right. I would say maybe one or two would be good, so you have a buffer, but not too big in terms of being overmanned. Otherwise, people might not. A lot of people would not be productive because people who don't have projects would just linger around, and other people on your team would see that and would linger around also. They get influenced by each other. So project managers would be really good, and making sure that when you onboard a new client or a new customer, that customer goes all the way to the loyalty or retention stage and is taken care of by your people. That keeps people from floating around and make sure that they're productive all the way. Question from Lester. Most of the young people today are so emotional. How do you manage your emotions? We are so emotional because young people are so emotional today because of the lack of difficulty in their lives. That is my opinion. The lack of adversity, the lack of healthy conflict, the lack of difficulty in their lives. So I'm a guy who has experienced working since I was young, got kicked out of the house. I had my own set of days when I'm very hungry. I would eat skyflakes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was extremely thin before, and those were days that were very, very difficult for me. But I'm also very thankful for those days because it helped me to be a lot more resilient when it comes to my emotion. Also, there is a book by Harold Sala about making your emotions work for you. That is a very good book. I've read that book, and he talks about emotions being something that we should master. We should not be mastered by our emotions, because emotions, it's a fickle master. Sometimes you feel, some days you feel this way, some hours you feel that way, some other weeks you feel another way, and you don't know why. If you are mastered by your emotion, you are unpredictable as a person, and your life is going to be an ebb and flow. There's no stability. In that book, I learned that I should master my emotions. When I feel this way, I have to ask myself why. And then I always put God in the center. What does God say in His Word about this? What does God say in His Word about anger? Why am I angry? Is it right for me to be angry? Is it going to produce something good or not? And then I master my emotion. How can I remove this feeling of being angry? I take it. I exercise. I go for a swim. I take a walk. I increase my endorphin levels. That helps a lot. So, exercise helps a lot for managing your emotions. That is a practical advice. Otherwise, it is a lot of prayer, meditation, reading God's word, putting God in the center, and also realizing that we should be master of our emotions, not the other way around. Hope that helps. From Nino, my pitch deck is halfway done. Congratulations, Nino. And I tried to pitch for pre-seed round to a couple of Australian VCs and angels in Clubhouse. Wow. Just for the sake of receiving feedback so I could improve it. Surprisingly enough, I got 2 offers and they want to have a Zoom meeting this Saturday. Should I accept the offer? I would say definitely accept the Zoom meeting. As to if you should accept the offer, I don't know what the offer is. So I'm not qualified to answer this for you. But what I can say is go to the Zoom meeting 100%. Ask your questions. Ask them, why do you want to meet with me? Why do you want to give me an offer? What do you see in this that interests you? These questions are very important questions, because then you will be able to realize what investors value. But it's very good that you started this. Rarely do I see people who just get out of their asses and execute. This is really, really good. And I commend you and I applaud you, Nino, about what you did. Doing that pitch deck, trying to pitch for pre-seed round, that is fantastic. I commend you for that. So yeah, if you want to take this a step further, you want my counsel here, we could always talk. Just hit me up on Discord. I'm there. I do reply there. I reply there. And yeah, maybe we'll schedule a call there. I'll give you a better, more qualified answer. Other people say that you don't need to be incorporated to shell out equity, and others say the opposite. What's your stand on this, Sir Sean? Okay, I'm now a sir. All right. For equity, it would depend. If you know the person very well, you trust the person, then you can accept a promissory note, and that's as good as equity when they incorporate. If you don't trust the person, you don't know him or her that well, then a promissory note would definitely not do. And they have to be incorporated and give you a certificate of stock transfer for you to be an official equity holder. So it depends on how well you know the person. Don't know the person that well? Definitely ask them to incorporate and give you equity right off the bat. Or if they're already incorporated, ask them to give you certificate of share transfer or stock transfer. If you know them well, they're not yet incorporated, a promissory note can do. It can do. Okay, so hope that helps. I've been bootstrapping my venture ever since, yet I only have a month and a half of runway left. Oh, wow. Should I consider investments or should I look for other revenue opportunities? This is a very tough question because I don't know how well your venture is doing in terms of signups, what your projection is, when are you going to hit a good MRR or monthly recurring revenue. So I'm afraid this question is unqualified and it has to be qualified further. Now, if you tell me that your runway, you have a month and a half left, but your signups is like 10,000 a day for a product that's not making money yet, but could make money, I would say definitely get investors if you're making 10,000 signups a day, because database is as good as money these days, and investors are willing to invest in a company that has that much signups per day or has a sizable database. Otherwise, I can't really answer this question in a way that would make a lot of sense. If you could qualify it further in the Facebook group, leadme.ph/Facebook, that would be amazing. Or in the Discord channel. How were you able to apply or maximize the principles taught in Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends? Okay, I've read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, since I was 12. Yes, since I was 12. And I've read that book, I think, 5 times. 5 times until today. So I guess the repetitive reading of the book helped me to familiarize myself with the principles there. And it became a lot easier for me to practice them, such as be genuinely interested in other people, allow others to talk more about themselves rather than you talking about yourself. And I practice this especially with sales. And this is why I get to close a lot of deals in my time as the main business developer. And some people are amazed with how much money I close in terms of being a salesperson. And that's really because I practice these principles. When I come in the room, I smile. They smile back. I make sure I know their names. I shake their hands. I ask them questions about themselves. I don't talk about myself at all or not much unless they ask. These principles helped me a lot, and I practice them actually every day. That is a book that has changed my life, and I cannot recommend it enough. Next question: how do you know a person will be a great fit for your vision? In the interview process, you ask questions. Why do you want to join our team? Right? You get to, if you hear a lot of, it's because I want to blank. It's because my blank is blank. It's if it's all about me, myself, and I, that might not be a great person for you to hire. But if what you're hearing is, if you ask the question, why do you want to join our team? And they keep on saying, because your team, because your vision, because your company is this, and that, and I want to be part of that, then you know that that person has good potential to be a good fit. Also, we ask people to take exams if they would fit our core values. We do a lot of things to make sure we qualify them as best as we can, because you're not really sure. You can't really be 100% sure if you're hiring the right person, right? The perfect person. There's no such thing. You really have to make sure to hire them. That's why we have the probationary period to check if you really hired the right person or not, because we make mistakes, but we qualify people as best as we can. And that's how you know that you got a person who will be a great fit. How do you convince people to join your vision? You can't. You just keep on casting that vision, and you yourself have to keep going to that direction. And when you have good influence over their lives, they respect you as their leader, they trust you as their leader, you keep your word, then they'll follow you. You don't need to convince them, they'll follow you. Okay? All right. Noren, it's your 40th birthday today. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. That's good to know. From Rahul, thanks for sharing. Hey, Rahul, thanks for tuning in from LinkedIn. Hope you enjoyed this. From Alonita, Miss Alonita, thank you for tuning in. Keep on inspiring this generation. All the best. Thank you. Thank you. And always good to have you here. From Janor, learned a lot tonight. God bless you. God bless you as well. Thanks for tuning in. And you do have a question here. I would answer it before we wrap things up. What scale of performance do we need to have an effective leader in our organization? I think performance is not mutually inclusive of leadership. They don't have to go hand in hand. There are people who are fantastic leaders, and in terms of performance, they're good. Not bad, not excellent, but they're good. But great leaders nonetheless. So it doesn't have to go like parallel ways, that an excellent performer is a great leader and a great leader is an excellent performer. Sometimes you have an okay performer or a good performer, but they're an excellent leader. And sometimes you have an excellent performer, but they're a bad leader. And I've experienced that as well in my company. Excellent performance, but bad leadership, bad character. So I think you don't really need to look at performance to see how effective a leader is in your organization. If the person has influence, good influence, and the person is influencing your team for the good of the company, going in your vision, and they are upholding your core values, and they're teaching other people out of goodwill, that is a good leader. That is a good leader. Now, if that person keeps learning from books, mentors, and podcasts, all the better. All the better. Invest more in that person, because that person is a good leader, and good leaders are always keepers. If you don't keep them, I will get them. So make sure you keep your good leaders in the team, because they will lift your organization higher. And that's why we do this leadership stack live every week, in order to raise up more leaders for our country, for organizations out there, so that the Philippines could be better in our leadership. It's a sad thing to see our country not having enough leaders, not having good enough leaders to run things and turn things around. And that is one big reason why we're doing this. This is a work of passion and love, and the leadership staff team is a sacrificial team, and they're here with me tonight, and I'm glad that it's beyond office hours, but they're still tuned in and still helping out. And that is something that I respect and I treasure, and is very valuable to me. And I hope that I'm honoring them right now because I want you guys to know that what they're doing for me and for the rest of the people who are tuned in and are tuning in on Spotify and YouTube, that is very important. So I hope you guys learned a lot of new things tonight, especially with teamwork and leadership. It's been a while since I've come back, and yeah, I hope this was a very good refresher for you. If you're not yet part of the Facebook group, we just opened it this week. We just opened it, and the link is down there, leadme.ph/Facebook. So if you are not yet joined, please do join. Me and the rest of the leadership staff team are going to be active there. When you have questions and we don't have the live yet, you can post it there and we'll get to answering them. Hey, from Kelvin, thanks. Learned so much tonight. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in, Kelvin. Really appreciate you being here. Hey, Eugene. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, you have a question. As a father of a family, what lessons have you learned being a dad that you applied in your business? Well, being a dad, I teach my kids a lot every day. When we eat lunch and dinner, I make sure that I ask them, what have you learned today? What have you been able to realize from reading the Bible? Because reading the Bible is part of their routine. Not the real Bible, but the kiddie Bible. So I guess that is something that I have been practicing in my business and in my team. Even before I had kids, I ask people, what have you learned? And then I also give them my insights. That is important for me because by nature, I like to teach. That's why I also do this. I like teaching people, helping people in relaying what I know, what I have learned in my life, in my experiences, in hopes that I am able to add value to you. And that's what I try to teach my kids. And the center of our conversations is usually pointing them back to God and telling them, this is what God did for you. This is what God did for me. This is why we have business. This is why we have food on the table. So we have a lot of conversations about faith. In the company, we do have our Bible study. It's led by some people and my wife. So sometimes we have volunteers. Sometimes Apple leads it, which is fantastic. And we teach about our faith there. We respect everyone's faith, but we do share what we believe in to them as well. I do think we have that responsibility in sharing with other people what we believe in, truly believe in, and helping them clarify their questions also about life. So yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about that. But one of the things that I surely do with business and with my kids being a dad is I teach. That is something that's important to me, that's easy for me to do. And it's something that I sincerely hope my kids and my people do enjoy. Yeah. Hope I answered that question, Eugene. Thanks for tuning in. And please do join our Facebook group. Would love to see you there. And yeah, so hope you guys got a lot of value out of this tonight. And we went a little bit over time, but I really, truly enjoyed this episode. And I hope to see you all next week. Take care and God bless you.